Hello, everyone. It's Giselle Toner, and this is the Ignite Your Value show. And this show is about up-leveling yourself. It's for those who want to go from being in pain to being pursued in life, love, and profession. And it's for those who feel broken right now, but you know that there's something inside of you that you need to really build up even more. And this show is geared towards giving you the way to do that with different modalities. Some of it will be yoga related, some of it will be life coaching related, some of it will be combining both. And more importantly, I'm going to be doing interviews with very, very special people who are going to be able to give you much information about how they broke through from the wreckage and climbed out of it through their own ways. And this is where it's going to really help you. You'll be able to get pearls of wisdom from these people that are very, very special. And today I want to introduce you to Bob Kessler. I'm excited to bring Bob on today because Bob is a very, very special person. He has had his own serious trials and tribulations in life and managed to go way above the norm. And he is also a dog mentalist, and he works on a very, very deep level with really getting that spiritual connection with animals, okay? And he is an animal behaviorist. So I find that being able to talk to Bob, we're going to be able to learn that really, really strong connection with animals that is very important for most of us in our lives. And even if you're not an animal lover or an animal owner, you're still going to be able to get some really deep messages from this. So Bob Kessler, welcome. I am excited to have you on today. So welcome.
Good to be here.
Good. Well, listen, I just want to go right into this, and I want to ask you, number one, I want to hear a little bit about your background. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, I call myself the original latchkey kid, and prior to being a latchkey kid, when I was about 4 or 5 years old, I began rescuing little puppies. I lived in a big city where there were a lot of stray dogs, so I would sort of rob the cradle of a litter, bring it home, a young little puppy. My mom, of course, would say, "Get the dirty dog out of here." And it wasn't until I was 8 when my dad passed away and my mom couldn't refuse me a dog anymore that I got my first dog. And that was purely my responsibility, the dog. And dog lived quite a long time. It sort of transitioned. What happened was in school, I guess I had the complications of a brother who had ADD. It wasn't diagnosed at the time. He was just a troubled kid, angry, what have you. And a mom who worked. So I was on my own and probably not living the best life. I'll spare you the dirty details. But let's leave it that I was not able to get into college right away. I was able to go to night school. What I chose to do instead of going in the military, it was the time of Vietnam, I went to Europe for a month on my own. So when I got back, I realized that I could not do anything with only a high school diploma. So I started school, but I was a year behind, really, when I went full-time college, University of Baltimore. So I got drafted in 1966 and went to Vietnam in 67 and 68. And I guess the only really good thing to come out of Vietnam was that I got into Oriental philosophy and religion, and I sort of adopted a form of Buddhism, meditation, and that had sort of crossed over into yoga and some Tai Chi, which I've done. But in any event, when I got back from Vietnam and started full-time college, I took it very seriously and utilized sort of the experience, the life experience that I had, and did quite well in college after that point, after my initial year. And became a social worker for a period of time, got some graduate credits, and I thought I wanted to be a social worker, help people. That was always my aim. And then I decided, well, I could do that as an attorney. And I applied to law school, and luckily I got in, went to I was living in New York at that time, but then I moved back to Baltimore to go to the University of Baltimore Law School. Now, I was married with 2 children. I was 28 years old when I entered law school. So I was a little older than the other students, but life continued on. And I did well enough in law school to graduate, become an attorney with my, had my family's support, of course, and did trial law, criminal, personal injury trial law. I was a public defender for a period of time, 11 years, continued a private practice. And then nearing the end of my career, I began to become an animal activist. I've always had the dogs. I've always trained the dogs. I began professionally training in the early 80s. It wasn't until about 2004 that I discovered and crossed over in my training philosophy to purely positive. I say purely positive, there's no such thing as purely positive, but emphasizing reward-based training, leadership, and enrichment for the animals. So as I continued in my animal activism, I became a member of the board of directors of the Baltimore Humane Society. I began representing animal interests in my personal private practice. But in 2014, my wife, actually in 2001, my wife began having medical problems, and they really got complicated in 2014. And that's when I retired from the practice of law. I wrapped up my law practice, and I went full-time into the animals because I always had it more or less as a hobby.
Now, let me ask you a question. I just want to ask you real quick. When you realized that your wife, needed you there, right? You had a dog at that time, right?
Yes, I was going to say, I've always owned dogs, sometimes 2 and 3 at a time. I trained professionally. When I got a special dog in 2004 who was so smart, German Shepherd I might add, that I had to take classes. I began to transition into clicker training, reward-based training, and then I was taking classes, seminars, because I was on the board of the Baltimore Humane Society. They started using me, and then I got certified as an animal behaviorist in 2014 because I realized nearing the end of my legal career that I wanted to devote myself to animals.
And the reason that you did that was because you actually, experienced a transformation in your own life where you knew that animals and the connection to animals was really important for you to actually grow spiritually yourself.
Well, there's no doubt that the spiritual aspect of animals is almost non-communicative with us to the animal. They bark, we talk. They don't really understand what we say. They get the tonal messages, they get the body language messages, but you could say that's a very spiritual thing.
And the reason why you do...
When you connect at a non-verbal, only an emotional level, and that's what it is. I always talk about the 7 blue ribbon emotions. They are in all animals, all mammals. They all experience anger, fear, panic, love, sex, procreation, and very important one is the seeking emotion, that going forward, satisfying your need to go out, to go forward, to have fun, to go out to eat, to watch movies. For the dog, seeking is taking that walk. And that's a very spiritual experience also, you communicating with your dog on a walk.
And the reason that you do what you do is because you want to help others, because you know that once they get that connection and they start to understand the importance of connecting with animals, because let's face it, we are all one. We are all together. We cannot survive without the environment, without other animals, and we're all together. So what you're doing, Bob, is actually allowing people to understand how to get that connection, right?
Right. Correct. And once you have that connection, it's you talk about spiritual, I call it sacred.
Yes.
Connection, and I've had it with animals my whole life. It's one thing when I go and train a dog, but it's another when I clue the owner into really what the animal needs from them. Too often with human beings, they want to control, but they can control not through punishment, but through positive rewards. Enriching their dog actually can really help its learning. And
give me a little idea of, the type of person that you serve. Who really benefits from what you do? What kind of people?
Anyone that owns an animal, and I include, I've worked on farms where I've helped even chickens. There are different combinations of animals, being able to read the animal's emotions, what it is thinking. And that's why I call it mentalism, because I actually am able to tell by the body language, by the way the dog responds, or any animal responds, what the animal's actually thinking. And they tell you, once you're aware of it, they tell you an awful lot.
And you can really tell when an animal loves his owner. You can tell.
Well, they all love their owner. That's why we get them. But the owner is causing the animal. And this is really the heart of the matter when it comes to what I do, by explaining to the owner not to pull on their dog, okay? Not to stop the dog from doing normal things. We can't cure normal. You can't cure a dog to stop barking. You can teach it to bark and then teach it how to stop after you teach it. And that's a very hard thing. But it's a normal thing for the dog to bark. It's a normal thing to respond to motion, people running at it, running by and then biting, which is normal. It's a prey drive.
Right, and I actually can tell you that I do know that, because I've seen it, and I'm sure you have also, that, you know, there are animals who are not very fond of the people that are in charge of them if they've been abused. So, you know, they do have that fear, and they do have that, after a while, they really don't want to be near that person.
With a lot of rescues, and they are difficult. I'm able to spot a rescue almost immediately, because of their insecurity. Their tails are down, that they won't respond, they don't look at you. There's so many things you can do to draw out. They bounce back so quickly, dogs. They really do. And if you get the right owner and they know the right philosophy, they can have a charm for the rest of their life.
That is so true. I can tell you, I know that firsthand, because I adopted a thoroughbred, and my horse came to me from the track knowing nothing but blast out of the gate and be afraid of everything. And he's still afraid of a lot, because he still hasn't really adapted to regular life. But I am working with him. He has responded so well in the past year, because I genuinely love him, and I am really, really very careful as to how I handle him. And he looks for me, he loves me. And this is really something that we have to understand about life in general, whether it's animals or people. You know, when you start coming from a place of compassion, everything changes, everything. And so I know that that's what you do. That is your.
That's what I try and establish, just enrichment for the dog, leadership for the human, not dominance.
Right.
We don't use the D word.
Right. And so I really am so thrilled, because I know that, Bob, you've been really, you've lived a lot of life. You really have. You've been through a lot, you know, from the upbringing and the childhood, and your dad dying early and being in Vietnam, and then putting yourself through law school. I mean, that's incredible stuff. And now connecting with the animals and connecting with the dogs the way you do, and being able to bring that to people's lives is incredible. I absolutely love that. I've got to give you so much credit, a lot of credit. And I wish more people had your mindset and your heart. So that's so beautiful. It really, really is. I love it. Yeah. And I want to tell you one other thing too. I know that there are many, many people that, even though they're not animal lovers maybe, or animal people, after listening to this, they're going to have a little bit of a different insight, okay? Because I know that sometimes when you're around an animal, sometimes it's difficult. You don't know how to read them. You don't know whether they're going to like you. Some people are really afraid of dogs and being bitten. And that's something that you do have to, you know, of course, you don't want to go over to a dog and just grab them. However, if you're coming from a place of awareness and empathy, you're going to have a much better chance of being able to connect, being able to really connect with that animal or that person, that dog, whether it's a horse or a dog, or you even said chickens. And I know that chickens are smart. They really are.
I've worked with them. So there's something called a chicken camp, where you can go to a camp and train chickens all day. I haven't done that yet, but it's supposed to be great for trainers. What you said is so true. I just wanted to seize on one thing. It might help some of the dog owners and some of the non-animal people. But the chief sense that a dog uses is a sense of smell. So when someone has been bitten, or someone is afraid or doesn't like dogs, without them really knowing it, they're exhibiting a number of characteristics that the dog recognizes that they're fearful or that they don't want them around. And the chief sense is their sense of smell. When you're fearful, that you produce certain pheromones, hormones that show your fear. Nephrephrine. It's what comes at the fear hormone. Okay, so the dog senses that. Plus, it sees your body language and your micro expressions. So, without I guess what I'm suggesting is someone that doesn't like a dog and wants to pet a dog really has to realize, well, that dog is really aware of the fact that they're frightened and they don't know what to make of it. They also hear your heart speeding up and your breathing change.
Right.
So that makes them a little bit more apprehensive of getting near you. So that explains it. I'm giving you a little dog mentalism now.
That's actually wonderful. As a matter of fact, that's something that can be taken at a wonderful value for people. So I was going to ask you to give something that can help, and that's exactly what it is. You know, be aware that a dog or any animal really will sense your fear, and be aware of the fact that that could be something that you want to make sure when you're around an animal, if you've got a lot of fear going on or a lot of anger or
the dog doesn't realize doesn't know if it's fear, they know that there's fear there and they hear that. They don't know the reason for it. They think naturally, living in the moment, animals only live in the moment, that it's them.
Right.
So they have to be on guard. They may be nervous, misinterpret what you really are feeling.
Exactly. That's amazing, and it's really important for people to know that. So,
but I do the same thing for people that have dogs. That's my mission. Okay, so that they can come to the understanding of the way their dog really feels.
I want to know how people can get in touch with you.
Okay, they can go on my website, dogmentalist.com. Dogmentalist.com is easy, and my email address is bob@dogmentalist.com.
Okay.
I have a blog, of course, on there that right now my very tired German Shepherd writes, just starting to. And you can also call me at 410-963-6116.
Okay.
410-963-6116.
Okay, so Dog Mentalist is all one word, DOGMENTALIST.com. Dogmentalist.com. Okay, great, because I think that people might want to be able to get in touch with you. And I just want to say thank you so much, Bob, for doing what you do, number one, being who you are, and being able to help people as well as you do, and the animals. So it's the dogs and it's the people. And just thank you so much for being here, being part of the show. I'm sure that it's going to be listened to many, many times, and I think that people are going to get a lot out of it. So once again, everybody, I was speaking to Bob Kessler. He is amazing, and please get in touch with him, okay? And I am just excited to be able to interview people like him because I know that he does so much for animals and humanity in general. Okay, so all right, well, that wraps up today's show, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Giselle Toner with Ignite Your Value, and make sure that you tune in again for other really amazing interviews that we'll be having. Okay, so thank you so much, Bob.
Thank you for having me.
All right, talk to you soon. Bye.